Bombshell coming in hot out of Chicago, and you cannot sit this one out. This franchise is staring at a decision that could rip it out of this city for good. An elite corner with a monster contract just showed up on the cut candidate list, and the whole defense is shaking. On top of that, a young interior disruptor could be on the trade block while a warrior out of Kansas City pops up on the radar. 3 stories, 1 outcome, the future of the Bears. Hit subscribe now. Stick around till the end. What is on deck today is not just a football headline. This hits the very heart of what it means to be a Chicago Bears fan. And here it is from Second One. If this goes through, Chi-Town is never, ever going to be the same. Listen up. Indiana just gave unanimous approval to finance construction of a brand new stadium in the northeast part of the state. Not in Chicago, not in Illinois, in Indiana. And to top it off, the meeting that was supposed to happen in Chicago, Illinois, to talk through the local legislative proposal got canceled. Canceled just like that, like somebody slammed the door right in this city's face. Let's be real. When was the last time it felt like this team needed the fans as much as the fans need this team? That bond between a city and its franchise is sacred. It is way beyond money, beyond contracts, beyond political bargaining. We're talking monsters of the Midway. We're talking about a team that has been playing in this city for over 100 years. And now it sure looks like Bears ownership is leaning toward a decision that could separate the oldest franchise in the NFC North from the city that raised it. Time to be blunt. The money situation is ugly. Bears ownership has been chasing a new stadium for years. Soldier Field has its limits. Everybody knows it. But there is a massive difference between upgrading or relocating within the city and straight up taking the team to another state. The Browns shifted their stadium out to Brook Park. The Rams ditched St. Louis and left a wound that still has not fully healed. And now the Bears look like they are headed down that same dangerous road. Chicago politicians know exactly what this means. When a meeting this big gets canceled, it is not some clever negotiating tactic. It is basically saying the game is over. And that ticks me off because this city deserves a whole lot more respect than that. Chicago is not just any city. This is the city that helped shape pro football into what it is. This is Walter Payton's home. Dick Butkus, Mike Singletary, Brian Urlacher. This is the city where Da Bears were born. Now, to be fair, let us look at the other side because this is not about sugarcoating anything. Bears ownership is not wrong when talking about the financial weight of building a new stadium. The cost drops on taxpayers, visitors, business owners in the city, and when Chicago cannot or will not meet the terms the franchise is demanding, suddenly Indiana becomes the more attractive play from a pure dollars and cents angle. But here is the thing, money does not buy loyalty, and the loyalty of Chicago fans is something very few franchises in this country can brag about. 20-plus losing seasons, disappointment after disappointment, from the Trubisky era to gut-punch losses against the Packers, and Bears fans kept showing up, packing Soldier Field, yelling "Bear down" through every freezing November quarter. Remember that playoff game back in January of 2026 when Soldier Field was absolutely packed under that brutal Chicago cold? With Mike Singletary getting a roaring ovation from that insane crowd. That is what is on the line. That emotional connection, that identity, that does not just get up and move to some random corner of Northeast Indiana. Meanwhile, the Packers are staying put in Green Bay with their legendary stadium, their tight-knit community laughing it up every time the Bears front office steps on a rake. Lambeau Field eats this drama up. The Vikings dropped US Bank Stadium right in the heart of Minneapolis. The Lions have Ford Field in Detroit, and the Bears somehow might end up without a real home in Chicago. So here's the question, is this what Chi-Town fans really want? No way. This is one of the riskiest calls Bears ownership has kicked around in decades because beyond the money hit, beyond the logistics of a new building, what is really getting put on the chopping block is the very essence of this franchise. Now, to be clear, nothing is completely locked in yet. Indiana's approval is a huge step, but the official deal is not signed. There is still time, there is still conversation, and honestly, there is still hope that Bears ownership steps back, takes a breath, and finds a way to keep this team in the city that watched it grow up. Because there is one thing that is absolutely clear. Bear down is not just a chant, it is a promise. a promise between a city and its team. And that promise should not get broken over money, politics, or any shiny stadium in Northeast Indiana. Chicago, this city deserves to have the Bears right here at Soldier Field in the city, period. If that shook you, wait till you hear what is next, because this next part is all about one of the best defenders on this roster, and the news is so wild that when you hear it, you are going to hit replay just to make sure you heard it right. Jaylon Johnson. Let us get straight to it. There is a name that just landed on a list nobody in Bears Nation wanted to see, and it belongs to one of the best cornerbacks on this roster. We are talking about Jaylon Johnson, CB1 for the Chicago Bears, and the question bouncing around the media is this: could the Bears actually cut Jaylon Johnson before the 2026 season? Hear this clearly. Jaylon Johnson was taken in the second round of the 2020 draft. From day one, the progress was steady year after year until Johnson turned into one of the best cover guys in the entire league. First Pro Bowl in 2023 after a flat-out dominant season. That came with a payday. A 4-year, $76 million extension. Back then, it looked like highway robbery for the Bears because corners right after that started signing for way more cash. Then came 2024, and Johnson went right back to the Pro Bowl. 2 straight trips, a 25-year-old corner at the top of the game on a deal that still looked reasonable for the market. Everything was pointing up. Then 2025 hit and everything got messy. Johnson hurt a groin before the season even kicked off, re-aggravated it in week 2, and that loss to Detroit, had to get core muscle surgery in September, only managed to play 7 games. And when Johnson finally got back out there, it did not look like the same player, looked slower, out of position more often than any Bears fan is ever going to be cool with. Now an analyst over at NFL.com dropped Johnson's name on a cut candidate list, pointing out that Johnson's 2026 cap hit is $24.5 million. And if the Bears made it a post-June 1st cut, they would free up $15.5 million in space. And keep in mind, right now, the Bears are roughly $5 million over the cap. They need room, and they need it yesterday. Here's the thing. The financial argument makes total sense. $15.5 million is real money. In this NFL market, with what that second Caleb Williams extension is going to cost down the road, every single cap dollar matters. No use pretending that is not real, but cutting Jaylon Johnson would be a massive mistake. The kind of move this team would regret for at least 2 or 3 seasons. Here is why. Let me throw this back at you. How many legit Pro Bowl level corners are just sitting out there on the open market? Not many. And the few that are available cost a fortune. If the Bears cut Johnson, they immediately have to go find another CB1, and whoever that is will either cost just as much or be nowhere near as good. The cap space that gets freed up on one side just gets burned on some downgrade on the other. Plus, there is context you cannot ignore. Johnson said it right after the season. The body did not feel normal all year. Certain movements just were not there. There was no real preseason, and Johnson got thrown straight into the fire. That is not a player falling off a cliff. That is a player battling back from major surgery. Huge difference between those two stories. Johnson is 26. That means when the 2026 season kicks off, Johnson will be 27. That is not when corners disappear. That is when a lot of them are peaking. Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Peterson, Richard Sherman, they all had some of their best ball between 26 and 30. Johnson has every tool to bounce back hard if there is a full preseason and the body is finally 100%. The smart move here is not chopping the CB. The smart move is finding the cap relief somewhere else. And there are options. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, for example, carries a 2026 cap hit north of $17 million. If the Bears cut Edmonds, they clear roughly $14 million. That makes a lot more sense because Edmonds, solid as Edmonds is, just is not as critical as Johnson when you look at positional value and impact on this defensive scheme. The Bears are building something real. Caleb Williams is still on that rookie deal. The window is open right now. This is not the moment to gut the secondary by dumping one of the best defenders on the roster. This is the moment to stack as much defensive talent as possible and give that quarterback every shot to make a deep playoff push. So here's the call, plain and simple. Jaylon Johnson is going to stay a Bear in 2026. And when Johnson steps back on that field after a full camp, looking like that dominant version from 2023 and 2024, a whole lot of folks who wanted Johnson cut are going to have to swallow those takes Bear down, Jaylon. Chicago needs you. Now, here's where it gets really wild, because while everyone is talking cuts and cap and how to shape this 2026 defense, there is a two-part roster shakeup that could flip the inside of this Bears defense on its head. A young, ascending interior lineman might be packing bags, and at the same time, a proven warrior out of the AFC wars might be ready to rock navy and orange. Do not go anywhere. Gervon Dexter wide, Leo Chenal onto the third story of the day, and this one is a perfect two-piece. First, there is a trade proposal floating around that centers on one of the most promising young defensive linemen on this roster. Second, there is a free agent linebacker on the market who might solve one of the biggest money problems on the Bears depth chart, the price tag on the starting linebacker. Let us start with Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle, 24 years old, drafted by the Bears in the second round back in 2023. In that 2025 season, Dexter racked up 6 sacks and took a massive step forward as an interior disruptor. For any NFL team, a 24-year-old defensive tackle with 6 sacks in a season is exactly the type of player you build around. Young, physical, explosive, and on a clear upward climb. So why is there even a trade proposal on the table? Same old reason, money in the cap. The idea that is out there has the Bears sending Dexter to the Jacksonville Jaguars for the 81st overall pick in the 2026 draft, a third-rounder. Jacksonville finished 27th in sacks in 2025 and does not have a lot cooking on the interior. Dexter would be a perfect running mate for Eric Armstead. From the Jags side, this is a slam dunk. From the Bears side, this thing has major red flags. First, Chicago is not exactly loaded with elite defensive tackles either. It is actually one of those spots that keeps showing up as a need in Bears mock drafts. If this team ships out one of the only legit disruptors in that room, the hole that opens up is not getting patched by some third-round rookie or a bargain free agent. Second, Dexter is still on that upward curve. When the Bears took Dexter in 2023, the label was raw prospect with huge upside. Now those reps are paying off. 6 sacks in 2025 from the interior is a big-time number. Very few defensive tackles reach. Dennis Allen can pencil Dexter in as a central piece of this defense. Third, think about the timeline. Is it really worth flipping that kind of young, cheap, ascending talent for a third-round lottery ticket when the competitive window with Caleb Williams on a rookie deal is wide open right now? The answer should be no. A third-round pick is a bet. Gervon Dexter is already proof of concept. Now, sure, the logic behind the proposal is tied to what Dexter's next contract is going to cost. If the front office projects Dexter's about to command serious money soon, and they are already staring at that massive second Caleb Williams extension coming down the road, the math shifts. Trade Dexter before the price spikes and use the cap space elsewhere. But that logic does not hold up for me. Not right now. Not after 6 sacks. Not at 24. Not with that type of trajectory. Gervon Dexter is exactly the kind of piece the Bears need to keep if this team is actually going to go after the NFC North. Now, the second half of the story, if the Bears do cut Tremaine Edmunds, they will need a linebacker who could do what Edmunds was asked to do: cover, blitz, and control the middle. And there is one name that jumps out as a real option: Leo Chenal, linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs. Chenal was a third-round pick in 2022 out of Wisconsin, spent the first 4 years in Kansas City as a rotational piece, playing over 60% of special teams snaps every year. In 2025, for the first time in that career, Chenal played more than half of the team's defensive snaps, which tells you that role is expanding. With the rookie deal done, Chenal is now heading into free agency. Chenal's 2025 numbers: 58 total tackles, 2 sacks, 2 passes defended, and 1 interception in 14 games, 12 of them starts. That stat line is not blowing anybody's mind on paper, but the context matters. According to PFF, Chenal posted a coverage grade of 72.6, good for 11th out of 88 qualified linebackers. The run defense grade was 76.2, ranking 22nd. For comparison, Edmunds logged a coverage grade of 52.1, sitting 50th out of 88. In coverage, Chenal grades out clearly better than Edmunds by those advanced metrics, and here is the kicker. Spot Rack projections have Chenal landing around $4.6 million per year, up against Edmunds' cap hit north of $17 million for Chicago in 2026. Run the numbers. Cut Edmunds, clear $14 million, sign Chenal for $4.6 million. Net savings just under $10 million. That extra money can go into a safety, an edge rusher, a left tackle, all major need spots for the Bears. Now, to keep it honest, Leo Chenal is not Tremaine Edmunds, does not have the same freaky athletic profile, does not have the same Pro Bowl resume, does not bring the same intimidating presence roaming the middle. Edmunds is bigger, longer, and has been a high-level starter in this league. That has to be respected. But Chenal is coming out of a winning culture in Kansas City, comes out of a top-tier defensive system, 4 years of reps and development inside one of the most successful organizations in the league this past decade, while the Packers lean on their vets and the Vikings keep searching for stability in their linebacker room. The Bears could steal a young, battle-tested player for a fraction of the going rate. If Dennis Allen can plug Chenal into this scheme and finally give Chenal the full-time role that never fully materialized in Kansas City, the return on that investment could be massive. That is exactly the type of smart cap play Ryan Poles needs to hit this offseason to build the strongest possible roster inside tight financial lines. 2 moves, 1 goal, build a defense that lets Caleb Williams lock in on taking this offense where everybody in Chicago expects it to go. That is Da Bears, baby. That is Navy and Orange with brains and with heart. All right, Bears Nation, we are wrapping this one up, and there is no way I am bouncing without throwing a few questions straight at you. On the Stadium U, the diehards in this city, the ones who have stood through every brutal Soldier Field winter, every gut-wrenching loss, and every win that felt like redemption straight from the heart. If the Bears bolt to Northeast Indiana, are you still riding with this team with the same fire? Or does something crack in that bond between this franchise and Chi-Town? Drop it in the comments. I need to read these takes because this is the biggest debate we have ever had on this channel on Jaylon Johnson. This is someone who leaves it all out there, comes back from major surgery, jumps on the field while still not 100%. And now people want to talk about cutting Johnson loose. The question is simple. Are you cutting Jaylon Johnson to open up cap space, or are you finding that money somewhere else and keeping Johnson on this roster for 2026? Type it out in the comments right now. I want to see where Bears Nation stands on Gervon Dexter and Leo Chenal. A young defensive tackle with 6 sacks at 24 might be heading out the side door for a 3rd-round pick, and a battle-tested linebacker out of Kansas City might come walking right through the front. The questions. Are you pulling the trigger on that Dexter trade? Or are you holding on and looking for cap relief another way? And on top of that, do you trust Leo Chenal to step into what Tremaine Edmunds brought to the middle of this Bears defense? Those are 2 big calls, and I want every answer down there. Look, I know exactly what it feels like to love this team with everything. Waking up every Monday in November with that Chicago cold sunk into the bones and still thinking about the next kickoff. That is what it means to be a Bears fan. It is suffering, it is hanging on, and it is believing when nobody else does. That is why this channel exists, so we have a place to talk through all of it together, to break down every move, every decision, every headline with the passion and the knowledge this franchise and this city deserve. If you are new here, this is your shot. Hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on the bell so you do not miss a single video, because around here, we are not just a bunch of people watching football. We are a family. We are Bears Nation, and this family keeps growing because people like you jump in with a community that loves Chicago and loves the Bears with everything. If you are already part of this family, thank you. Really, every comment, every time you share one of these videos helps keep this going and lets me keep bringing you the best Bears content I can put together. Hit like on this video if you believe the Bears should keep Jaylon Johnson on this roster. Subscribe if you think this channel deserves to be the #1 home for Bears Nation on YouTube. And let me know in the comments which of today's 3 stories hit you the hardest. The stadium in Indiana, the possible cut of an elite corner, or the Dexter and Chenal roster shakeup. Until the next video, Bears Nation, bear down Chicago. This city is ours and this team is ours. Never forget that.